Nayuta is going to blow the lid off of Chainsaw Man Part 2. In chapter 118 of the manga, we see that Asa and Denji plan a date to watch movies at Denji's house, but he seems visibly panicked about the idea and even goes as far as to say that Asa needs to follow the house rules because worst case scenario, if she doesn't, she will die. And we don't get any elaboration on what this means quite yet, but we can kind of assume that it has something to do with Nayuta since she's the only one living with them other than all those dogs, and obviously the dogs aren't going to be doing anything as extreme as killing Asa or something if she doesn't follow the house rules. So that kind of gets you wondering, like, what is up with these house rules? Why are there even these house rules to begin with, right? Well, I think we can safely assume that it's something along the lines of Nayuta kind of claims Denji's place or Denji's home to be hers or something, and we all know that if the control devil feels like something is beneath her or inferior to her, or they feel like they own it, then they can take control of that entity. So kind of how Makima used to have that saying or that phrase, that's in order, and that's something that that person absolutely had to do at that point. It was almost possessing them. The same deal might be happening here with Denji's place or Denji's apartment, whatever you want to call it. And even though she is a young girl, or what appears to be a young girl, she still is a devil. So it would make sense that she's kind of morally gray to the point that if you break her house rules, then she will literally kill you and not think twice about it. But I guess my real concern or my real intrigue in all of this is when Asa inevitably goes to Denji's house to watch the movies, if Nayuta is going to recognize that she's the host to the War Devil, or vice versa, because I actually think the latter would be much more likely, seeing as how Nayuta has those signature four horsemen eyes that we've been seeing so far with the other horsemen we've been introduced to. It might be Asa's consciousness that's taking over while they're on their date, but we have seen that Yoru can pretty much see and feel and hear everything that Asa also observes. So I just feel like there's no way that Yoru wouldn't notice that Nayuta is the control devil solely based on the fact that she's going to see those eyes, because we also haven't gotten any indication that devils have this like sixth sense of sensing other devils or something. It's kind of seemed like it throughout the series, but we've never gotten that confirmation before, so we can't assume that devils can sense other devils or something like that. Or else I would assume that Pochita would have let Denji know at this point that Asa is the host to the War Devil. So that kind of begs the question, like, when Yoru or Nayuta inevitably finds out about the other and their true identity, what is going to happen? Like, what kind of conversation is going to happen? I think that's very, very interesting to think about. And it might sound kind of crazy right now, but I do have a feeling that Nayuta already knows about everything that's been going on between Denji and Asa, from their date to pretty much every interaction they've ever had, because it would make sense to me that Nayuta being the control devil and being able to use the control devil's abilities like how Makima used to, where she can use mice or small birds as surveillance cameras pretty much, Nayuta would probably be able to do the same thing, and she more than likely would do it to keep an eye on Denji, seeing as that he's the only family she has at that point. And believe it or not, we might have gotten some evidence to this in chapter 118, because if you guys notice in the very first page of the chapter, Fujimoto draws this small section of the panel where it shows a bunch of crows flying into the air. And for those of you that have recently watched the anime or have noticed at certain points in the manga, it seems whenever Makima is doing something or where Makima's about to do something, we see these crows all around, almost like she's using them to observe the people that she's about to kill or she's about to do something to. And I honestly don't think that Fujimoto would just throw this in just to kind of look nice and start off the chapter and all that. I genuinely think that there was a purpose to adding this small section in that first page. Maybe by the time that Asa gets to Denji's house, Nayuta already know what the deal is. She already knows that Yoru is coming, so she might just be ready with the questions. Like, she might be ready to reveal everything to Denji, or just kind of be an onlooker to what's going on and kind of observe what the War Devil's true intentions are and intervene at that critical moment. You know, that moment where Asa and Denji both start to gain more and more feelings for each other to the point where turning Denji into a spinal cord sword actually works. And this is the moment when Nayuta intervenes and points out that, no, this is the War Devil. I've known this whole time. And that's where shit really hits the fan, because we know the way that Fujimoto rolls. He likes to throw things in our face without us even expecting it, and this would be a great way to do that. And although I've been really itching to see Nayuta in part 2 of the manga, I have really loved the way that Fujimoto has been kind of building up to that moment, kind of putting it on the back burner while Asa gets her main character development these first 15, 16, 17 chapters before reintroducing Denji, and of course eventually getting into all of that stuff. And seeing as how Denji himself says that Nayuta is smart enough to go to college even though she's just a child, I think Nayuta would be pretty quick to deduce what's going on with Asa, even if she can't can't sense that she's the War Devil. And of course, the fact that she doesn't carry over Makima's memories, she obviously wouldn't be able to know exactly who the War Devil is just on first sight. That's also a possibility. I'm very, very curious to see what these house rules are that Nayuta has set on Denji's place, and how this whole interaction between the War Devil and Nayuta inevitably goes. Now, I can't really say whether things are going to hit the fan immediately, or it's going to be how Fujimoto has been building up this story as it's gone on so far, where these things are kind of just lying beneath the surface, waiting to just blow up in your face. But regardless, I cannot wait to see the interaction between these two once they inevitably meet. So whether it's in this movie date that they're having, or at some other point in the story, the War Devil and Nayuta's inevitable realization of each other, or acknowledgement of each other, is definitely going to make the story very interesting going forward.